Hey, this is Stephen Ament. Welcome to my Exorcism.io series. In this episode, I'll be working through the word count exercise. In the word count exercise, we'll be given a phrase, and what we need to do is return a hash of each word in the phrase as the keys, and as the values, the number of occurrences of each one. Let's jump right in. Word count. Let's open up my testing pane. Execute the test, which will fail, of course, because we don't have the file yet. Wordcount.rb. Let's keep going. We're still failing because uninitialized constant word. It's not called word count. It's called phrase. That's our class. Initialize needs to take an argument, which we can call phrase, since that's what we're being passed. And now we need to define our word count method, which takes no arguments, but it does need to return a hash. Let's just go ahead and return this. Pretty quickly, we'll have to implement the actual solution, but at least that one passes. Let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of that and execute the next test, which is going to fail. All right, so how do we make this thing pass? Let's go ahead and get our phrase here. And like a lot of these, the first thing we want to do is get it into an array that I would like to call words. So what do we want to do? Well, let's just go ahead and make sure we have a string here before we try to split it. And I think what we're going to want to do is split on word characters, one or more word character. That's actually not going to do what we need yet, because what we want to do is we want to get this hash from this array. So let's begin like we do with a lot of these. I'm just going to brute force it. So to make sure I understand how it works, we're going to get it working that way, and then step back for refactoring to see if Ruby has anything better for us, something more maintainable. So I'm going to start with a counts hash here, an empty hash, and then I'm going to return it at the end. And in between, what I want to do is let's just iterate through our array, each word, and then that word is going to be the key in the hash. But what I want to do is, instead of just adding it, I want to make sure that I'm adding a count for each occurrence. So how do I do that? Well, we want to set it equal to, let's just try 1, because we have an occurrence now, plus counts word. I have a feeling this is going to fail because the first time it's nil. Yeah, nil can't be coerced to integer. Can I do it this way? No, same thing. Can I 2i it? Yes. No. What's wrong? Counts word is equal to 1 plus the current counts, the current value of counts word as an integer. Let's just see what's going on. Because this looks like it should work to me. Maybe I'm doing something really obvious. So word. Aha, wait a second. Oh, I see what I've done. I've gotten my split backwards. So let's go ahead and kill out of this. We don't want that. We want to split on non-word characters because we're not looking for the words. We're looking for the non-word characters. And that's going to be our delimiter. I think that's not going to work for us down the road at some point, but for now, it's gonna help us build out the functionality. So as you saw, that worked, and I've modified my test runner a little bit here so that the bottom pane will close if the tests pass successfully, and it will stay open if there's a failure, so that it's clearer to us, it's more obvious, and we have more screen real estate here while we have successful tests. Okay, so now that we're working, let's continue on. Okay, 25. All right, test on line 31. Or on line 30, I guess. Aha, so we have another failure. So what's the problem here? Tests handles expanded lists. Well, we aren't handling the expanded list, and my guess is it's treating these as consecutive delimiters. So what can we do here? Well, now we can say one or more, so that consecutive delimiters will get treated as a single delimiter. Okay, that works. Great. Ignore punctuation works. Test include numbers. That works. Test normalize case. I think this is going to fail because we're not down casing, and it looks like it wants them all to be down case. Yeah, we have all kinds of crazy cases here. So let's, before we split, let's down case. Great. Test with apostrophes. I think this is going to fail. Yeah, this is going to fail because an apostrophe is a non-word character. All right, so what do we do now? We are splitting on non-word characters. And we've just hit our first bump in the road because we have a non-word character in the middle of a word that we would like to exclude from this. But I already see there's going to be a problem with whatever we do for that test, because in the next test we also have single quotes. And if we go ahead and try to ignore them here, then they're going to get ignored here, and that's going to we don't want those in our final result. So I think we're going to have to do something different here. Instead of splitting, which what split does, you give split a delimiter, which can be a single letter, it can be options, or it can be a group of letters, a group of characters that you want to be treated as delimiters in the string, to split that string into an array of pieces. What we want to do here, I think, is something that's not exactly the opposite, but sort of the opposite. I think we want to scan in this case. And the difference between scan is not just the opposite of split. What scan does, you provide scan with a regular expression, and it's going to search for occurrences of that regular expression in your string, and it's going to return an array of those occurrences in the order in which it found them. So you can use scan in the same way, but it's important to realize that it's not exactly the opposite for cases that might be different for. And so in this situation where we have characters in the middle of a word that we want to include, but characters that are outside of the boundaries of a word we don't want to include. Well, regex is smart enough to know about word boundaries, and in fact, there is an escape character that designates a word boundary, and it's not a D. It's a B, a word boundary. So in this situation, we want an option here. Any word character or apostrophe, any number of those, right, in between two word boundaries, that's what we want. So you see what this is doing? An opening word boundary followed by any word characters, any number of word characters or apostrophes, followed by a closing word boundary. Any occurrence of that is going to become an entry in our array. So let's see if that fixes our test. And it does. Great. If that wasn't completely clear, go ahead and put a question in the comments or ask me in some other way, and I'll see if I can make that clear, what's going on there and why I switched to scan away from split at that point. So now, based on that change, I expect tests with quotations to work. There it is. And it's because in this case, this particular apostrophe is within those word boundaries. And so this one's okay. This one and this one, these quotation marks are falling outside of what regex is recognizing as a word boundary. And so those are being ignored. All right. Test multiple spaces not detected as a word. I think this will be okay. All right, was that it? Yeah, so all our tests are passing now. So let's go ahead and save this. Let's pause here, and I'll be back in a second video for a couple of refactorings.